What's up, everybody? My name is Ty. That is Austin. We are the Real Cinema Squad, and we are calling an emergency meeting right now to go over a theory that's been floating out there that Sol is the true Sith behind this show and that he is pulling all the strings and that he is the bad guy.
I've accepted my darkness. What have you done with yours?
So this theory is that Sol actually killed all the witches and wiped May's memory, or Osha's memory, and is actually Smilo Ren's master. But there is some shroud of mystery around Sol that's been building and building throughout this show. This, what has been a horrific show up until episode 5, where we at least got some action. And so here are some of my points that could maybe run with this theory, Austin. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. So number 1, at the beginning of episode 5, where is Master Sol? He is completely gone. And if you remember at the end of episode 4, Smilo Ren does a little flick and poof, and yeets everybody back with the Force, and they all go flying. But apparently, Master Sol went really flying, like across the forest, and couldn't find his way back because it took him a little while to get back into the action. So it begs the question, what was Sol doing? Was he purposely letting the other Jedi fight Smilo Ren as like a test? And he's like, wiping them out, and he's just like seeing what he's going to do. And then he comes in and saves face by fighting Smilo Ren himself. And then number 2, all of a sudden, towards the end of the fight, Master Sol, his fighting style changes. He goes from more of a defensive style to a very aggressive, getting ready to slice Smilo Ren or smite him down. And it took, strong female character number 2, as the critical drinker likes to say, to stop him from doing that, apparently. So that's number 2, is like his fighting style changed, and it was almost like he was summoning the dark side and fighting in that style a little bit. And then number 3, obviously, that he was the one behind killing all the witches, and that he just wiped their memory, and then that's why Smilo Ren is alluding to like his past, and like they almost know each other in their dialogue. So those are a few points to back this theory. Now I just want to get what your thoughts are, Austin.
Yeah, I think very interesting points. This is probably the most interesting part of the show, right? Is that we can theorize, is this actually going to turn out to be something good, right? I think Sol is, the most interesting character of the show, right? We've said since the beginning of the show, as bad as the writing is, as bad as the story, Sol is the most interesting character. They obviously pretty much bank this show on his character and on the way he acts. And so, I think your points are very valid. One of the things that catches me the most is that the way the interaction was between Qimir, Smilo Ren, and Sol was like they knew each other. And because immediately Sol, when his mask came off and Sol looked at him, it's like he knew something about him other than obviously they met because he was like the potion master in that city, but it's like he knew him. And then Qimir was like, oh, well, there's darkness in you. Yeah, he could have sensed something in Sol. Was it really just a sensing thing in the Force, or did he know something about Sol from the past? And what brings even more credence to that, there's no way Sol at the end, when he came to and May was posed as Osha, there's no way he didn't sense that was May, right? So either there's 2 scenarios here. Either he's letting that play out so he can get an upper hand as the good guy, or there's something sinister going on between all of them. Because you don't have an entire Jedi group die and then Sol go back to the Jedi Order and nothing be found out about the Sith. If there wasn't some plot to where Sol either didn't make it back because he was killed or because he was in on it. Star Wars Expanded Universe, like lore, it's prime for Sith having secret apprentices. I mean, you had Darth Vader in Legends where he had Starkiller, Galen Merrick. He was a secret apprentice to him during that time. Sith are all about just deceiving one another and using people for their gain. And so is Sol the mastermind behind this whole thing? Because I don't think it's Qimir. He just seems like somebody who's playing the part, especially the way he even said, like, oh, you would call me Sith. But it was kind of like a little play. Like he was like playing around and joking, right? Like he was like poking fun. So again, I could see Sol either being the mastermind or there being somebody even higher than that. Like, is the Acolyte? I don't think the Acolyte is actually May. Like, because the whole time they're acting like May is the Acolyte of Qimir. I don't think that's the case. So either Qimir is the Acolyte of somebody higher or Sol is the actual Acolyte.
Yeah, I think Sol could be the Acolyte. And what if, like you said it earlier, what if Plagueis is the one that's running the whole show behind the scenes?
Yeah.
Let's not go too far away from the fact that this is still going to break lore. It already has, like, right. But it's interesting. And then on top of that, another thing that we can talk about is that Sol just up and walks off, doesn't take any of the Jedi with him, doesn't take any of their lightsabers with him. Like, he just hops on the ship like, we got to go. Right. And like you said, he didn't sense that there was a switch. Come on. This guy's a Jedi master.
Right.
Earlier on, Smilo Ren was talking about him getting into his mind. Like, clearly this guy can sense things. He got to, when he was searching for, what was it, Osha before, like on a different planet, like he went right to her without even, so the guy, he can sense things. He's force sensitive. So, and he's a master. So it's like something else is at play.
Yeah, and you see everything we've ever seen, Clone Wars, movies, all that kind of stuff. You've seen where the Jedi, they're obviously compassionate towards their fallen soldiers because they're basically brothers. And so you would think Sol would have collected the lightsabers and taken them back, or taken the bodies and had like a Jedi burial. We've seen in other media where Jedi have had burials and it's very honorable. And Yoda gives the whole speech about how they're luminous beings and they're going to go into the Force. Like, none of that happened. Like, he just let them be dead, especially like for Yord and I'm blanking on the girl's name. I keep on forgetting the characters' names.
Jackie.
Yeah. Jackie was his apprentice, right? So why would he not bury her? So there's a lot of
he didn't even mourn her. He really didn't even mourn her. He just like,
there's a lot of sketchiness going on. And to your point about the witches, they've set up that whole episode, which was an atrocious episode, but the way the cuts off were, it's like they were hiding something. And so I don't agree with them trying to paint the Jedi as the bad guys or like slaughtering the witches, but maybe that's the key here, is that it wasn't the actual Jedi that slaughtered the witches. Maybe it was Sol, because he is obviously trying to frame them from within.
Yeah, so I think we're going to get another flashback, and it's going to be the other version of what actually happened that night, and it's going to be like the version where it paints out the Jedi to be bad, or at least Sol to be bad, and like wiping the memory, and it's like, it's a completely different version of that whole what went down. And I think that's what's coming.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, interesting theory. Let us know in the comments what you think. Do you think this is really far-fetched? Do you think there's something else at play? There's definitely some shroud of mystery around all of this, and I don't think that it's as obvious as we thought. Although we kind of called it from a long ways away that Smilo Ren was going to be Qimir. But it's interesting, like, is he just a pawn? He could totally just be a pawn in a bigger scheme, which is what I think. But it remains to be seen.
You know what my thing is that if the show ends up doing something really cool at the end with Plagueis and like obviously stuff people wanted the show to be about, I'm afraid none of us will care. They finally brought Plagueis in, but it's a little too late in my opinion. Like, the setup of the show has been terrible. And so it's like, even if they end up trying to stick the landing in some cool way, you can't just throw a bunch of dangling keys out there at the end of like, oh, this was the plan all along. Well, yeah, your execution was still terrible.
Yeah. It's a little too late for a lot of people. Unfortunately, the damage was already done early on in the show. But we'll see what they do for episodes 6, 7, and 8. But anyways, thanks for watching our emergency meeting. And we hope you stick around for more episodes like this. Signing off, Ty and Austin. We're the Real Cinema Squad.